So just by way of an apology before I start, I got the images Thursday. The event only took place a little over a week ago. Still very fresh in my mind, and the emotion of the whole experience is all fresh in my heart. And I had about an hour to write some notes about it today, obviously between this, Rachel's Oyster Saloon, masterclass, a few other bits and pieces. Life's a bit crazy at the moment, so forgive me if I appear to ramble. And also today I've just had the first Australian same-sex wedding at the restaurant. Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was really cool. It was really cool. I was very proud to be a New Zealander at that point. One of the really cool things that happened and was very emotional. I had quite an emotional day actually. It's been really weird. It was when one of the the groom and groom, the bride and bride couple, gave a very brief speech, and these two guys won a prize from New Zealand Tourism to come to Wellington and get married here. And so it was a very brief and short speech, and he said that when they were walking down the aisle at Te Papa this morning, and they were saying their vows, he said the enormity of what had happened to them really struck him, like where they were and what they were doing. And he said we may have won a prize. He said, but at this moment, what I realise we've won is equality. I think there was a dry eye in the house. Anyway. Right, this is going to challenge some of you, and I expect to get in a few arguments afterwards, but hey, that's just life. And before I start this, I just want to preface it with saying that all through this experience of the last 9 months, I have kept in mind and in my heart the fact that there are victims. So don't think for a minute that I have ignored them or that fact. Fabio, before we start crying, let's go. Okay, so my life is food and restaurants. As Mike said, we take photographs about it, I write about it, I read about it. I believe firmly that still choosing what we eat is one of our last truly democratic freedoms we have left. Eating socially, and everybody here pretty much has touched on this tonight. By the way, I'm not talking to the slides, watch those, I'm just talking. It's not slide relevant. That's a nice view though. That's from my office. We take Waterfront to a whole new level. Everybody's touched on it tonight as well about the whole communal aspect, the social aspect of dining. Roger just touched on it now about restaurants and places and frames that create dining rooms and spaces where we interact socially and we do things. I am incredibly lucky to do what I do. It has taken me to extraordinary highs and then some extreme lows as well. I enjoy the finer things in life. I enjoy Riedel stemware and drinking beautiful Pinot Noirs from it. I can't afford the Pinot Noirs anymore in case any of my creditors are in the room. But it's just, just saying. Sometimes you've got to do that. And it's taken me all around the world. Sally touched on Tokyo and Kyoto before, the food that she had there. I've had similar food epiphanies. I've sat at the tables of some of the greatest chefs in the world. Michael mentioned some of those as well. It's quite cool coming last, actually. I was terrified of it, but it actually can pick on what everybody else has sort of said and throw it into your own presentation. But in all those environments, food has been a social occasion. We've sat down and we've shared the experience, and through that, as Sally was saying, you go to Tokyo and you have a food epiphany, and it changes your life. Food becomes an agent of change, but every now and again you start to wonder if it is, can it be that agent of change that we believe it to be? Which is how I sort of found myself out at Rimutaka prison. Very quickly, this is a shot of what we call the pods. This is where if you're a prisoner, you're sentenced to jail. You'll spend the first 2, 3, 4 years of your sentence in one of those areas, in a very, very small room, and you'll be locked up in there for most of your day. Well, how I ended up at Rimutaka was I was invited to go out there and do a dinner, and I wasn't interested until someone said to me, prisoners get out. That's the first thing you've got to remember. They are going to come out. Some will never come out, and they shouldn't come out, but most of them will. They're going to live in our communities. Prisoners who work will reoffend less. A man who cooks can feed his family, and that had a bell for me. A man who works can buy food to feed his family. And then the statistics started to come out. 80,000 people a year in our prisons or communities. If you times that by 3 family members for each one of those, that's 240,000 members of our society. More than 5% of our population are affected or go through the prison system. We've got the 7th highest imprisonment rate in the OECD. Our length of our sentences are increasing. And if you're a Māori male born in 1975, 45% of you will have come into contact with the Department of Corrections by the time you're 35 years old. 8,500 prisoners are spread across 17 jails in this country, and none of us live more than 100 kilometres away from a jail. 7,500 staff employed in the New Zealand prison system, 3,000 volunteers, and on it goes. So we were going to do a dinner based around reducing reoffending, introducing people, the public, into the idea of dining in a prison and showcasing what you could do if you spent time with offenders. So I entered prison with, what a weird thing to say, I started my sentence, with quite fixed, firm ideas of what I thought food was about and dining socially. And I imagined for most people, we had about seen America's hardest prisons, which scared the living death out of me before going into prison, I should say, and discovered that actually people don't eat socially in prison, they eat on their own in their cells, and they get their dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon, and they're locked up, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're locked up at 3:30 in the afternoon. The cell door doesn't open again until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's no choice. There's no, there's no freedom there. It's a standard restaurant. It's a standardised menu across every prison in this country. You have no choice. I'm running out of time because I know where these slides are, so I'm just going to try and speed it up. I thought I wasn't going to have enough to say. So entering prison. So I started working with 6 individuals. Today, the story about the dinner hit the Arab news. Pretty happy about that. Emirates, France, New York Times, and the Guardian newspaper. So this is a dinner, an event that's had global pick-up and take-up because of its the uniqueness to it. We worked with 6 individuals. What I found funny about that was they said Pete, not his real name. That was his real name. Wolf, that's also what he's called as well. And Brown is just like, not his real name. Actually, it doesn't really mean the real names. This is Wolf at the front here, a bear of a man, or wolf of a man, I should say. And we took these guys who'd never done anything like this before in their lives. They'd never cooked like this. They had no food background to speak of. And every day they were making coleslaw, savoury mince, and the dullest food imaginable. It's healthy, it's nutritional, it's low fat, it's low sodium. That's it. It is not an easy life in there. I went in there to sort of try and change these men's lives if I could. What happened was a personal journey where they changed mine, and that was the most unexpected thing of this whole 9-month saga that it has been. They've given me a perspective, I've given them skills. I gave them confidence, but they gave me empathy. They saw the magical thing that can happen when you transfer the raw through to cooked. These are some of the dishes that we did, I should say, on the night, served on the meal trays that they get. And when all freedom is taken away from you, which, as you could say, when you've been convicted of a crime, this is exactly what should happen to you. You appreciate as an individual the freedoms that you actually have yourself. I get to choose. I get to go to a farmer's market. Hell, with Rachel, I co-own one. And I take supermarkets for granted. Before I said hate them, despise them, but now it's like, oh shit, I can go to one and I can buy what I want to buy and I can eat what I want to eat. We're coming to the end of the slide, so I'm going to sort of start to wrap it up. The prisoners described the event as being life-changing for them, giving them goals to work towards. And when every day is the same, as Wolf said to me, you provided me a focus for the future. They discovered a passion. The rewards, though, are immense. They're not financial rewards. What they've been for me has been the emotional, extraordinary, passionate journey that I've been on. And to say this started out as a commitment, it became a passion, it's ended up being an obsession. It is one that I'm going to take months and months and months, I think, to process the enormity of what we achieved through that event. And more to the point, and I know I've finished, but I'm going to take a few more minutes, I'm sorry, has been we've walked that walk. We have taken on a long-term prisoner in the kitchen at Martin Bosley's. He's amazing. He's fantastic. He's been with us for 2 months now. And I urge every one of you out there, this was about rehabilitation. This was about employing somebody who's been in jail and giving them a chance, because these men want 2 things. They want freedom and they want to earn some money. And they need us to give them a chance and for us to take our place in the next step of their rehabilitation back in our communities. Thank you.